Greg, how you doing?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks everybody for joining us. I'm Kip with Digital Summits, and today I'm pleased to have with us Greg Gifford for our marketing spotlight. Greg is the vice president of search at SearchLab. It's a boutique marketing agency based in Chicago, but Greg is actually in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. His dynamic movie-themed presentations are packed full of actionable tactics and information. He's got over 17 years of online marketing and web design experience, and his expertise in local SEO has helped hundreds of businesses gain more visibility in local searches. Greg graduated from SNU in cinema and communications, and we may get into movies a little bit because his presentation, The Goonies Guide to Search a Local SEO, was a huge success at our Digital Summit at Home conference earlier this year, which you can join us coming up next month, October 21st and 22nd, where Greg will be speaking and joining us again. So Greg, so happy to have you here with us today. Let's just dive right into it. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. First question. Looking at your background, I love that you referred to yourself as a local SEO nerd. Now, whenever anybody uses the term nerd, it means that they are just, they love the subject so much, like that they just love talking about it. So does that mean that you just get really excited about everything that has to do with local search?
I do. I get really excited about it. I really enjoy the intricacies and weird stuff that happen. I really enjoy helping people, and unfortunately it's really complicated, and most businesses out there don't have any sort of resources to stay up to date with what's going on, and you get people where their GMBs don't show up or they don't understand why things aren't working. And so it's nice to be able to have a job where I know I'm actually helping people.
Yeah, and you kind of got into this because you have a background working with automotive, correct?
Yeah, so I ended up years ago getting a job at a company that did websites for car dealers. And so that's when I really got into local SEO. And I worked at that company for 8 years. And then I worked at a different company after that for another 4 years. That was same sort of thing, an automotive website provider. And so just because of that, that's 12 years in a row that I was automotive exclusive. So I've done a lot in automotive. We still play really heavily in automotive now just because I've got so much experience there. But so now at SearchLab, I do we've got lawyers, plumbers, electricians, all sorts of stuff now too.
Yeah, so that was going to lead to my next question. What have you learned in the space with local dealerships that applies to other verticals?
Everything, because there's different lingo between, the way businesses run is different, but just the basic strategies of local SEO and the things that you need to do are the same, because Google doesn't use a different algorithm for different businesses. It has the regular algorithm and then it's got the local algorithm. So if the local algorithm applies to you, it doesn't matter whether you're a car dealer or an attorney or a hospital or a plumber or a whatnot, the things that matter are the same.
Yeah, that's a great point. I remember talking to somebody once about marketing and said, look, marketing is marketing, right? If you apply the same tactics and principles and you were polished at those and you're really good at those, you can market just about anything.
Yep.
And I agree with that. So in local SEO, you're now working with an agency. What's one of the one or two big things that your clients are asking right now? What's on top of the mind?
I mean, a lot of clients are like, holy crap, what do we do with COVID? Because COVID has drastically changed the way that people have to run their business, and it's changed buyer behavior. So businesses that never really prioritized SEO before are now really prioritizing SEO because they understand that they have to show up digitally to be able to capture those customers. So a lot of people are coming to us because they want help showing up in that early stage of the funnel. And then, clients that we already had before COVID were just looking to us for assistance on, hey, do we need to shift our marketing now that COVID has happened? What do we do here? Most of the time, it's just people that come to us knowing I don't show up well. What do I do? Help me show up better.
That totally makes sense. And I was going to ask about that later, but we've already hit into the COVID things. I was going to ask if, with 2020 and people in home offices and virtual school, is local search more important than ever? You kind of hit on that.
100%, because again, COVID fundamentally changed the way that business works. You've got everybody working from home, doing school from home. So now you're a lot more e-commerce is happening. And if you are going to go physically buy something, whether it's a product or a service, it starts with an online search. And what's weird is you see a lot more mobile searches now. Even though people are at home and they've got their laptop or their computer available, they're still searching on a mobile device, and mobile searches are inherently localized. So local SEO is just becoming more and more and more prevalent, and businesses are finally catching on. I've been talking about local SEO for 10 years at conferences, and it's always been this kind of niche thing that only certain people really kind of gravitated towards. And now a lot more people are realizing, wow, holy crap, this is what I need to be doing, because this is what's going to actually make a difference.
Yeah. And speaking of which, not really a niche thing at conferences. There was a conference specifically that you were a guest speaker at the White Spark.
Yep.
White Spark Labs, it might be. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, it was dedicated specifically to local SEO, correct?
Yeah, so there's actually been a couple of conferences for a while. There's a series called Local U that's specifically for local SEO. But I think this was the biggest one. I think they had 5,000 people registered for this, which never would have happened in reality. But because it's virtual, hey, they I think it was free even. You didn't even have to pay to attend the conference. So they got a ton of attendees, and a lot of people all over the world watched, which was great. But yeah, it was a conference that was 3 days, and it was completely dedicated to local SEO, and it had all the top local SEO experts in the world speaking. So it was really, really cool. It was the first year they've done it, and everybody that participated, we all were blown away. It was an awesome conference, and I definitely hope they do it in the future. The only drawback is it was virtual. It would have been really cool to have all of those awesome minds together in one spot.
Yeah, it was free because you mentioned it at our Digital Summit at Home conference. So I checked it out. I was able to sit in on a couple of the sessions. And it's not so much of a drawback. Come on, the virtual conferences can be a good thing. We've been doing a few of them now. And
yeah, no, I mean, it's good. And it's good that conferences are able to pivot and do them virtually, because otherwise, I mean, like you guys, if you had to go, gee, we can't do conferences for a couple of years, you'd probably be out of business. And there's a lot of smaller conferences that did go out of business because they just don't, the conferences, you can't pivot. You can't take a conference that, there's a lot of conferences out there. It's $2,000 for an attendee to buy a ticket to the conference.
Right.
You can't turn around and do that virtually and charge $2,000 for a ticket. Your ticket price goes down to $100 or maybe $200.
Yeah.
Now, you don't have the venue costs and the food costs and all that, but yeah, I mean, it's an entire business model that got really kind of completely screwed up by COVID. So it's good that they do them. But, when COVID hit in March and all the conferences started to say, yeah, we're not going to do this in person. I already had 24 or 25 conferences scheduled this year in 8 different countries. It's a big revenue source for us. I don't speak because I love to just get up on the stage and speak. I speak because it brings us leads, and we get business out of me speaking at these conferences.
We're hearing that a lot. Yeah.
So, that's been a difficult adjustment of not having, and sure, you still do the virtual conferences, but you don't have that. I spoke and did a really killer session, and then you've got people that will follow me out into the hallway and ask me questions, or follow me to our booth or drop by our booth later on and ask me questions. You lose that. Plus, I'm friends with a lot of other speakers and friends with people in the industry, and you miss those connections, those dinners that you have with people, and the nights out, and the parties. And not that I was a crazy drinker or anything, but it was fun to go to those parties and hang out and catch up with people. And I kind of miss that whole, just social interaction in general, really.
There's a buzz there that you can't capture online.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember leaving for a marketing conference once years ago, and my wife thought I was excited to get out of the house. Now, while that might be true, what I told her was, you don't understand. I'm going to go to a place where there's thousands of people like me that want to talk about stuff that I bore you with every night. So yeah, this is a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which, 17 years, we've both been, at this for a while. What's the biggest change you've seen for you both personally in the business, but also just in digital marketing in general?
Oh, geez. It's really become, I've been in it long enough to kind of see the whole, oh, wow, now we've got this website thing, and we can get these websites and market ourselves on websites. And traditional marketing seemed to kind of take a back seat to internet marketing. And now I feel like it's kind of come full circle. And a lot of the people that relied completely on digital are now starting to realize I need to go back to some of that old school brand building stuff that we used to do back in the day that we kind of quit doing because we just relied on our website. And a lot of the things within local SEO now that you need to do revolve just as much around brand building. It's not like an SEO isn't really just an SEO anymore. It's a digital marketing strategy that involves all the things we used to do for SEO, but also traditional old school marketing and brand building and PR. And it's just become so much more robust as time has passed.
I love it. I'm getting a kick out of your answer because, having been at this for a while, digital marketers we were whiny in the early days. We were like, hey, don't forget us over. Can we have some of that budget?
Yeah.
And then like now we're the cool kids. And it's funny you say like, oh, we got to go back to those old school things and talk about branding again.
Yep. Yeah. And it's true. A lot of people kind of just didn't even worry about branding for a long time. And, back in the day, if you were one of the first guys in your area to have a really solid website and do really solid digital marketing, you would slay. But, now we're in a situation where everybody has a website and everybody's doing some form of digital marketing. So that's why it's kind of back to the old school brand building, because you have to do more than the other guy if you want to win.
Couldn't agree more. All right, let's get into a little bit of background on movies. We're gonna have some fun with this. You ready? First, let's talk about your presentation coming up. I've seen it. It's great. We got great feedback. The Goonies Guide to Local Search. Give everybody a little bit of flavor about what they could expect if they're coming to the Digital Summit and they see you speak.
So it is super packed. I don't remember how many slides I have, but it's just a ridiculous number of slides for a 30-minute presentation, because 30 minutes just isn't enough to talk about everything that's going on, especially now that COVID has happened. So I go really fast and I pack in a ton of information. So it's all about, what you should do with your website content, what you should do with link building, talk a little bit about reviews, and then I really dive into Google My Business and all the things that you need to be doing there to maximize your chances of attracting customers. So there's a whole lot to it. And then I was a film major in college. I'm ridiculously obsessed with movies. That's actually my biggest complaint about COVID. I was actually just reading a story online that said that Disney has pushed back a lot of stuff to 2021. So stuff that was supposed to have already come out is now getting delayed to the end of next year because they're just so worried that, Tenet just came out and would have made gazillions of dollars in the quote unquote normal pre-COVID world. And it made like $40 million. Like it's bad. So anyway, I love talking about SEO and I love sharing my love of movies. So there's always a movie theme. And so this one, I always tie in the title slide to whatever the theme is. And this one's all comedy movies. So there's a lot of jokes and I always do some puns at the beginning as an intro. And it's a good time. It's a little bit more of a performance style presentation.
For sure.
I go to a lot of conferences and years ago when I started speaking, I kind of noted that you really had two kinds of speakers. You'd have the speakers that get up there and they're just really boring to watch and they're not engaging at all, but they're really smart and they gave you actionable info, but it's just painful to sit through a 30-minute presentation. Then you'd have the other side of the spectrum where they might as well be reading the phone book. There's no useful information, but they're these just absolutely dynamic speakers that even though they're reading the phone book, you're still just enthralled the whole time. And so I knew that I wanted to fall right in the middle of that spectrum where I was providing really awesome, actionable info, but was also enjoyable to watch. So, and I was always kind of class clown guy and I've never had a problem with public speaking. So I kind of combined all that together into the mix to
I think it's
have
great
my own
because
style.
It gives you a chance to show off your personality, what you're passionate about, your background. And there's nothing like movies to kind of like that bring us all together. Like you said, like, man, we're missing good movies. Everyone loves going to the movies. Everyone loves the movies. There's such a easy thing to talk about it. Happy hours and stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's fun too, because you can put in these obscure references to things where like, I'll always have a slide or two of some really obscure movie that fits the theme that, there might be 200-300 people in the room and nobody gets it, but 3 people. And for those 3 people, it's even cooler because they realize nobody in this room has seen this movie.
Made a connection.
Yeah, and it's a cool thing.
Yeah. All right. So I've also heard from, you know, mutual friend of ours that you're also a music buff.
I am.
All right.
I'm a
So
very big music buff.
Here's a kind of an oddball question for you, but you get one search tool, you get one movie, and you get one band for the rest of the year. Who you picking?
One search tool like Google versus Bing, or one search tool of like SEO tool a tool set that I use?
The latter.
Tool set that I use probably would be either SEMrush or Places Scout. It'd be tough to choose between those two. It depends on the client set. If I'm with my current client set, I would just through the end of this year or for 12 months.
End of this year.
Just now, if it's just now for the next 3 months, I'd go with Places Scout.
Got it.
One movie. Whoo, that's so hard. Wow, that's tough. Because you can't compare horror movies to comedy movies to action movies to whatever. I'd probably go with the Goonies.
Goonies? All right. Yeah, you gotta have something. You gotta have something to laugh at. It's 2020. Come on.
Yeah. One band to go with between now and the end of the year, that is equally as difficult. I would probably say In This Moment.
In This Moment.
They are a heavy metal band with a gal that is the lead singer with just an incredible set of pipes. She has.
All right, I'm sold. I honestly never heard.
And you know, it's funny because years ago I was like, I'm never gonna listen to the heavy metal music where the lead singer screams. Now, there's a difference between screaming and the Cookie Monster, you know. But I was like, I'm never gonna listen to any band that has screaming. I was almost a music performance major, so I can really, really sing. And I was like, I'll never listen to somebody that screams. And she screams on some of the songs, but it doesn't matter because when she does sing, man, she's just an amazing, amazing singer. So
yeah, they're singing and then there's like war.
Yeah, and she doesn't really scream as much on the newer stuff. That's more of their older stuff. But
all right. Now you get one blogger. What's a one blog? Do you follow blogs?
No.
No. All right, we'll skip that one.
Joy Hawkins, if I had to pick one, but I don't really follow blogs that much.
Okay.
I get most of my news/info off of private Slack channels or Twitter, so I don't really read blogs too often.
Right. It's good to know. What movie do you wish you could have marketed?
Whew. Man, I would have loved to have marketed Aliens back in the 80s because that's just such a stellar movie. That would have been really cool. I think it would have been cool to be on the marketing, and Netflix didn't do too much with it, but Bandersnatch on Netflix was really cool with the whole kind of choose your own adventure.
Right.
I think that would have been fun to come up with some cool marketing for too.
Yeah, I talked to a guy from a movie studio, and it was in marketing, and he said my job ends on Friday because if the movie's any good or is not good, the reviews take over at that point.
Right.
So you know they set up everything, all the sizzle reel and everything else, and get it all out there and hype the movie. And he goes, that Friday when it's released, my job's over. I thought that was an interesting comment. All right, a couple other things here. What would be a music band or individual performer you wish you could be the digital marketer for?
That I wish could be a digital marketer?
That you wish you could be the digital marketer for, the personal digital marketer for. You pick them up as a client.
Oh gosh, Steel Panther, no question.
Why Steel Panther?
Do you know Steel Panther?
I don't, but tell me about it.
So Steel Panther, they started off as kind of a gag thing. They are a 80s hair band, sort of tribute band, but basically the whole idea is they are an 80s hair band still today, and their songs are ridiculously vulgar, and they're all about doing drugs and having sex, and their lyrics are hilarious. But when you go to their and they're all like makeup, spandex, everything. And when you go to their concerts, probably half of the concert isn't even singing; it's them doing comedy bits on stage.
Please tell me it's a bunch of dads and with dad bods.
No, they're legit. Like, they look like Motley Crue type guys. But the thing is, they're stellar musicians. So because I was almost a music major, and I love music. Like, one of the things I hate is going to see a live show and the band either sounds like absolute crap because the mix is bad and they don't, they're so produced on the album that live they're not good. Or I also equally hate when you go see a band and it sounds exactly the same as listening to the album. I want that live experience. And these guys are amazing live. They're ridiculously talented musicians. And they started off doing this kind of thing as a gag, and then it really took off, and now they tour and they're a huge band, but they're hilarious. And whenever they do interviews or anything, they always do them in character. So it's you don't really know what these guys are like in real life because they're always in character. And for example, the drummer's name is Styx Zadinia.
That's a great name.
And then the bassist is Lexi Fox, and it's 3 X's on Lexi and 3 X's on Fox. And he's the parody of
or may not want to Google that.
He's the parody of the very effeminate 80s hairband guy. So he has tons of makeup, and he has a whole beauty station on stage. So between songs, he'll like blow dry his hair and put on new lipstick and stuff. Like, the band, they're really funny. I would love to market that band.
That's awesome. I love it. All right. So your bio also says that you have a movie quote for any situation.
Just about.
All right, here we go. You ready? 2020.
Oh, God. Jeez, I don't even know. I'm trying to think of all of mine are usually like funny stuff. I don't have anything that's that much of a downer to go with 2020. Jeez, I don't even know with that one.
It better not be I'll be back.
God, hell no. No, I'm trying to think of something just really bummed out, but yeah, I don't know.
All right, think about that one. What about this upcoming election?
Oh, God.
Try not to be Debbie Downer topics. I just thought you might have something.
There's got to be something from a horror movie to relate to the election. Jeez. Oh, there's got to be a good one from Hellraiser. Oh, come on. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, my brain's so fuzzy from being locked in and not watching movies in forever. I can't think.
What's your favorite movie quote? What's the one that just nails it?
I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
On that note,
which I actually have on my arm. That's the guy, Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Nice.
And then I have the all out of bubblegum right there. So
I love it. He not only quotes it, he lives it. I was going to ask you about the tats, but we got into it. We segued right into it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So I just got this done on my hand. About a month ago.
That's iconic.
Yeah. So I'm now done. Well, I mean, I finished my sleeve of my arm several years ago. And
all
then
movies? All movies?
Yeah, it's all 80s movies. So that's 70s. So it's Goldfinger.
Yep, that's Goldfinger.
Christmas Story. I look like him when I was a kid, which is not a good thing. And I got They Live There. I got Die Hard right there. That one won an award. Then I've got Ghostbusters and Young Frankenstein, and then I've got Darth Vader's lightsaber up the back. So all stuff from the 70s and 80s. And then I added this in recently, and then I just probably 2 months ago finished the tattoo sleeve on my right leg, and it's all stuff from the Goonies. And so then my next thing is I'm doing my fingers, and then we'll start on my left arm. So
that's amazing.
All movie stuff.
I love it. Yeah, the Christmas Story movie was filmed here in my state. And you can actually tour the house up there in Cleveland. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All vintage. Pretty cool. Greg, thanks for joining us. This was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. And we look forward to seeing you speak again at Digital Summit at home next month.
I'm excited to be back.
All right, brother.